Okay, you want me to just do a quick intro and all that?
Yeah, just a paragraph.
Yeah, name's Norm Cruz. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm semi-retired. I used to be a program manager and engineering management naval officer. Now I just do paperwork at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I get to telework a lot now. Now every day. I'm building a CX-5. I'm using a RevMaster 2200, which is the same thing as a 2300, except it uses dual magneto, a Bendix dual magneto. I'm doing a basic panel, kind of like the prototype. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for the avionics, but because everything changes so much, that'll be the last thing I buy. But I made enough room for the GTR B200 intercom radio that Garmin has, and also the GTX 345. And I'm thinking about getting maybe a Garmin Era 660, maybe attach it with a RAM mount over to the side. Yeah, I bought my project 2 years ago from a guy in Carson City who had a heart attack. His name was Everett Young. Good guy, but couldn't build anymore. He lost his medical. You can't see it, but I'm going to put the ELT in there next week probably. Yeah, I probably need to finish. I've got the cowling and the canopy. I need to install those probably in the next couple weeks or maybe month. And then I'm going to start the wings. But because I don't have enough room, because it looks like I have a lot of room, but my wife's car goes right where I'm behind me, I'm going to have to move the fuselage to a hangar and then start the wings after that. So thanks, Ben, again. I got the wing ribs from Ben a few days ago, and I'll start working on that after I get this fuselage out. So, yeah, and the other thing is because of where I live, under Class Bravo airspace, I can't get away without, with trying to fly without ADS-B in and out, or ADS-B out. And there's so much traffic around here that I want ADS-B in as well. So anyway, that's me.
Great, thank you. Roger, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. My name is Roger Miller, and I'm in North Carolina. I built a CX-4 about 4 or 5 years ago. There used to be, anyway, an entire folder full of my photos on the Yahoo groups. I'm not sure if they got transferred over or not. I haven't looked to see on the news site. But I had 300 or 400 photos of my construction. I'm sure a lot of people have probably seen those through the past years. Once I finished the Thatcher, I built a restored and a Rocket Chief, and then a Varga Ticina after that. But currently don't own an airplane and am not flying anything, but probably enjoy building more than flying, but love both.
Very good, cool. Sean, you want to go next?
Sure. I've got CX-5 number 112. When the engine finally arrives, it will be a Airventure AM10.
Cool.
Yeah, I have spent an awful lot of time talking to the engineers and owners there, and it is a pretty awesome little unit. See, then there's a few changes I've been making, including the brakes and rudder pedal system, as well as on the other side of the engine. Firewall, the fuel system. We've got manifold and 2 check valves here. Being that it will be fuel injected, if you press the fuel lines to be pressurized. So that is potentially higher than the faucet or the engine pump would reliably handle. So I'm going to have separate pumps on either fuel tank, pressurizing them, and then the check valves allowing the pump on, fuel pump on and off to do fuel selection for me. So,
nice.
On a list of other small modifications, the brakes are they're Sonics brakes. They are both in terms of build quality, price, fitness. They're really nice, and hold. They let the wheels pretty good. So I'm very happy with those guys. other one that's the biggie is, of course, the turtle deck. Number of the 6 4 builders have been installing turtle decks. It works very nicely, and I'm looking forward to that enabling me to get away without the strake, adding a little bit more side to the aircraft to help me from having the tail hunt and cruise. And then lastly, the rails. You see, I've added a extrusion here, and will
Is it like
be
a 80/20 extrusion? Is that what they call that? Something like that?
very good. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so this one's good. I'm gonna have the rail on the interior for the rear canopy, the rail on the top canopy, and then just flat aluminum on the exterior. So nothing there to get debris and crap caught into.
Yeah, very cool.
And because I've got a aircraft billiard nearby, so I've been pulling things like the type of air vents out, and using those for my air vents. I was hoping to get the wing stubs closed up this weekend or next, depending on how productive I manage to be. Oh, and there's another builder around here in Sacramento. He's not. I've been trying to convince him to be more active with the group, but he's an A&P retired, and he's about a mile down the road from me. So he is moving along at a ludicrously good pace, and he's going to be. He's already rebuilt a Limbaugh engine for and mounted it. It's a German manufactured VW descended aircraft engine. So basically, the block looks very much the same as the RevMaster, only it's different language stamped on the castings. But he's modified that one because he just didn't like the starter or alternator configuration, so he's rebuilt both those and swapped them out to make the aft end of the engine more open. I really want him to fix this up because his work is truly it's better than any aircraft I've actually flown. So it's pretty neat to watch him go.
Very cool. Cool. Thanks, Sean. I see Dan Roy is next. If you.
Okay, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You're kind of quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, my name is Dan Roy, and I live in North Carolina as well. I think it was Roger, is that right, that lives in North Carolina?
Yep, Roger said that he's in North Carolina. I'm not sure exactly where, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm located in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. It's kind of in the northeast part of the state. But about 5 years ago, I purchased an almost all-built kit from an elderly man by the name of Mr. Henderson. He has since passed, but I finally got it out of the corner of the hangar and started putting it together, and I almost have it ready to go. I've been taxi testing it, doing some high-speed runs up and down the runway, or takeoff. I'm in the process of painting it right now, and this is kind of what it'll look like. All yellow with blue stripes. So it's
Very nice.
it's looking okay. I am not a great painter, so I'm going through those pains right now of spraying and sanding and spraying and sanding. So, but it's got the VW Great Plains 1835 cc motor on it. I think it's about 65 horses, and it's got an EDS turboprop, and it's running good. And once I get it painted, I'll do the weight and balance, and then I'll try to set up the inspection with the FAA to come and take a look at it and hopefully get the airworthiness certificate. And
Awesome.
so,
Very good.
yeah, it's a tail dragger. And I got notified by another guy that just bought a mostly built kit in Oklahoma, but he lives locally as well, maybe about 50 miles from me. And we were going to kind of get together and share some ideas on how to get the inspection going and all that. So, but that's about it. It handles really well on, at least on the ground for sure. So I'm excited to get it going. Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Jeff, you want to say a few things or?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Jeff Coffey. I live up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I built a Sonics a while back. I was one of their early builders. Built the Sonics before they selling it. So I've had that airplane fly now since 2002. And then a couple years ago, started working on a CX-5. I'm working on it pretty slow. I'll try to move around here and give you just a sense, but I started on the wings. I don't know if you can see. I've got one wing in the rack over there, another one here. The one in the rack is ready to be riveted. This one here just needs to be drilled up and deburred and then riveted, but it's coming together pretty good. I've been working on the bench here. I don't know if you can see, I've got the aileron for the second wing here that's ready to be riveted, and I've been working on my second fuel tank the last couple weeks, getting that sealed up. Still have a slow leak in there somewhere that I gotta hunt down and patch up, but that one is getting really close too. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I've been just in the last couple of days started looking at the plans for the fuselage, thinking in the next couple of weeks here I'll be ready to dive in and start working on the fuselage. So yep, that's
awesome.
That's
very
me.
Nice. Very good. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Let's see. I see Rob on here. Rob, you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Rob Kent. I live just east of Seattle in Sammamish. I'm always interested in aircraft, builder since way back in the 60s. I'm an aircraft mechanic, went to school in Cheyenne back in the early 90s. Worked on a few small planes, but found I made more money in computers, so I'm a computer guy. Always interesting to see what Thatcher's doing. I'm interested in that the new CX-7. Like the side-by-sides, I think, better than any of them. So, but always followed Van and the different Zen Air. I love the Zen Air 650s. So, a variety of aircraft, but Thatcher probably the most cost-effective and a neat little plane, and they're beautifully designed. Looking at builders, there's some really nice airplanes out there. You guys look like you're making progress. And I particularly like Axel over there in Germany and his layout. If you haven't been on his website, take a look at it. He looks like a master craftsman. So that's basically my story.
Cool. Thanks, Rob. Let's see. I see a few other people in here. Looks like there's one dialed in with SMG900V. I'm not sure who that is. You want to introduce yourself? Oh, you're on mute. So try to. Here, I can unmute you.
Oh.
Here, try that. Try that. So are you there still? I think it kind of froze up. Are you there still?
I'm still here. Did you
Okay, there you go. Yep, I can hear you now. Yep, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Because there was nothing on my end. I think I got video back here now. Martin Bornheimer. I'm over in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Got one of the first CX4 plans from Dave in 2004 at Oshkosh. And then when the 5 came out, I switched gears and making some but very slow progress on the 5.
Very good. Thanks, Martin. I remember you from Oshkosh actually the last couple of years. So yeah, I didn't recognize you in the video there, but thanks for joining up. Let's see. Next, I see iPhone GM. Not sure who that is.
That's Greg Mekas.
Oh, hey, Greg. Talked with you just the other day.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. So I guess I can give a quick little introduction. My name is Greg Mekas. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia. Heard somebody from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, just a couple hours down the road. That's interesting to find out about. I'm looking at building a CX7. Soon as Dave released or said it was good to go with the plans, I just sent him the money right off the get-go. I want to get my hands on those as quick as I can. I've got a table out in the garage. Really nothing worth showing, but I like the way it turned out. It's kind of a beast of a table. I'm ready to roll. I've done some ordered some parts from you, Ben, on that nose gear, just getting some humble little beginnings on a few things. And looking forward to get going. I'd say I spent most of my time just recently trying to figure out the instrument panel in the 7. We went down to Pensacola Thanksgiving time and got to sit in the prototype and size it up. And I'm actually trying to get some rudimentary IFR capability into that panel, probably like with a GRT Mini and a Val INS 429, or a dual G5 with a SL30 nav going into it. Just something so you can take advantage of those higher altitudes regularly and not have to worry about that cloud deck. So I don't know. We'll see the way that goes out. I've been laying out a bunch of stuff. So that's enough on this end.
All right, great. Thanks, Greg. Let's see. I see GB. I'm not sure who that is dialed in. I would guess Glenn Bradley, but I don't know. So. Okay, moving on. I see there's another number. It's a 303 number dialed in. You're on mute. If you want to speak up and introduce yourself, or. Okay, maybe not. All right. Well, let's see. So I think I know a lot of you. Oh, there we go. 303 number.
Yeah, this is Larry Durham. Yeah, Larry Durham.
Hey, Larry.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're up to?
Sure. I have a CX4. It's plan number 142. I bought it from a gentleman in Fargo, North Dakota, a year and a half ago. His name was Larry Kraft. He passed away, and his family decided that they wanted to move the aircraft on. He had it about probably 60% complete, had the fuselage done, all the major parts were pretty much done, but they were just kind of all put together temporarily, if you wish. I had to make all of the modifications to the rudder pedals and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up taking a fair amount of it apart again and sort of going through everything, getting it up to speed. I then purchased a motor from a gentleman in Texas. It had been in a flying CX4 that had about 25 hours on it, but the build on the project was not very good quality on the actual aircraft itself. So he decided he was going to part it out, and I bought the motor from him. It's a Great Plains 2180, and so I got that, up here to Denver where I live, we live in a suburb of Denver, south suburb of Denver, and I have the aircraft in a hangar at Centennial Airport. So right now the wings are probably about 75% built, and I'm just slowly going through the process. I'm using steam gauges because he had them all. So I'm putting those in. I'll be using probably iFly or something like that on a laptop or a iPad for my nav. I'm going to, instead of doing the paint job, I'm going to actually wrap it with vehicle wrap, which is quite a lot less weight. I'm also going to put in a 12-gallon dragster tank instead of making the tank. I've seen some of the guys on the old site, the old forum, at least 2 or 3 of them had done that using a tank from Summit or Jegs or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, kind of rocking on. I'm glad to know, Ben, that you are up in Kearney, because that's not terribly far from me.
No, it's not. Yeah, and we're out your way every once in a while, so yep.
Yeah, so you're one of the people that is closer to me than probably anybody. On the original site they had, and they may have it on the current site forum, they had a list of people who owned them in this area, and there were 4 people in the kind of Denver metro area, but I could never get a hold of any of them.
I
they
see.
may have passed the airplanes on to somebody else or whatever. But yeah, I would love to see one that's completed and actually sit in it. But I'm very fortunate. I'm in a hangar that's heated, and my brother has a Luscombe 8A that is a show winner at Oshkosh, and I'm in a hangar with 4 airplanes, and it's a blessing to be in a place where it's not freezing cold or whatever.
You got a lot of elbow room also.
Yeah. So yeah, I would love to meet anybody. If you ever get through Denver Centennial Airport area, be sure and let me know.
My dad and I went out there for the EAA leadership training a couple of years ago. I'm not sure, I can't remember which airport that was. But yeah, we met a lot of people from the Denver area. That was a good get together, good group of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out there every once in a while. Obviously, right now we're not going to Denver, but
yeah.
Yeah. Trying to see where I'm just pulling up the map here. Centennial, Colorado. Let's see. Okay, so you're kind of the south side then? Is that right?
We're at Centennial, yeah.
Just pulling up the Centennial Airport. Okay, yeah, I see it there. Okay, cool. Very good.
Is Centennial the original airport there in Denver?
Is it what?
The old main airport in Denver before they built the new one?
No, that was Stapleton, and that is all houses now.
Oh, is that right? Interesting.
Yeah, it's all developed into big, just into houses. It's all gone.
Used to
Some
fly
of the old
in
hangars
there and then watch them build the new one.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Oh yes,
Cool.
if I ever come through Kearney, and we do that periodically because we go back east to see our kids. If we ever come through there, I'll try to stop and see you, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm here all the time. So yeah, look me up for sure. So very cool. Well, cool. It's good to meet everybody and kind of hear about your projects and everything. I thought so. I kind of threw just a quick agenda, but I thought, well, is anybody stuck on anything, or does anybody have questions on their next steps, or does anybody? I don't know. This might be a good time to kind of do a Q&A with the Brain Trust, right? So I don't know if anybody has any All right, Dan.
I have lots.
Yeah. All right. We'll start speaking up. So.
Yeah, this is Dan. What it is on the Great Plains engine that I have at a higher power setting, it starts leaking oil from the front seal of the crankshaft right behind the right behind the propeller. And I did put it out on the forum, and I think I have it fixed. I haven't done it yet, but basically, what they're saying is to go to the air breather first, remove it, and then flip the louver gasket, I guess you would call it, turn it upside down. And somebody posted a photo of how it should be. So I'll give I first and try it. If not, I'll put the seal on. And what they're saying is to cut a seal in hub up against the engine case and JB weld it. And to me, it just doesn't sound right, but a few guys have actually sent me pictures of their alteration. But have y'all seen that at all? The oil leak coming from the front of right behind the propeller hub?
It seems to me that Great Plains has something about that on their website. I'm not sure of that because I've seen so many things on the internet. So,
right. I did read about checking the oil breather, make sure it's not clogged. I did check that, but then somebody mentioned about taking the louver underneath or in the oil breather and turning it the opposite direction. So that's what I'll give a shot and try that after I finish the paint and all that. But then if that doesn't work, I'll also try putting that seal on the outside of the engine right up against the case and the propeller hub.
Well, Dan, this is Larry in Denver.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
I haven't obviously had that problem. I have run my motor up on a test stand and haven't really run it enough to see that problem. But in my reading, I know that Glenn Bradley, I believe, and I don't know if Glenn is on here or not, but he has talked about actually running his half-quart low, and he does that all the time. You can find that on the forum somewhere.
All right.
Because that really cut down on his leakage issue. I mean, it sounds like a crazy simple fix, but it might be worth a try.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll look for that on the forum. But I did get a couple of good suggestions, and I haven't tried them yet just because I've been painting. But when I start running it again in the next week or so, I'll figure out what works. So,
if you haven't yet, Dan, you might want to throw an email out to Great Plains and just see what they have to say. I know they've changed hands a few years back. Not sure what their technical staff is these days, but it might be worth. I mean,
yeah,
maybe worth a free email. Just asking them. So.
Right, and I've talked to a guy by the name of Mr. Art is his first name,
Okay.
and but it's kind of been a slow response, to be honest with you. So,
Okay.
But anyway, the guys on the forum have been good. I've gotten good input on that, and that's it.
All right. So, like Norm and Jeff maybe had questions.
Yeah, my biggest problem, I think, in general, is I'm building in my house, which is great. But the problem is I don't have people to bounce questions and concerns against. So it's just starting from one end of the plane and going to the other. I had questions, and I pretty much made decisions on my own, or just based upon what little I read, I decided, okay, well, I can go ahead and go forward. And some things I've decided I'm not probably going to look at again later on, just before I put everything together and get it flying. Okay, for example, I bought this is the biggest one. I bought this engine, as you know, from RevMaster, and I made the assumption that, oh, since it's coming from RevMaster, it's probably been, and he said it was bench test. So I assumed that it was like gone through and they used the same standards as they did for all their engines, but I don't think they did. I think it was a used engine. Someone maybe turned it in, and then they just, wanted to get it out of their shop. So what I'm saying is, like, I'm finding elastic, the fiber, what do you call it? The elastic nuts in the engine compartment, on the engine. I read that you're not supposed to have that, but I find fiber in the nuts. So I'm pretty sure I have to review that and probably replace them. The other thing is, for example, I noticed that there's no parking brake on the prototype. I get the idea that maybe I don't need parking brakes, so I decided to, even though I have the parts, I decided not to install it. I didn't run that by anybody. I just kind of like thought about it and read things online. That's another example. Do you or do you not need a remote switch for an ELT? I noticed that on a lot of planes, they don't have it. A lot of the old planes I flew didn't have it, so I assumed I was just going to hook up my ELT and not have a remote switch. Another thing is, I had Ed Klepis weld me the the flange for the carburetor to my intake manifold, or my intake piping manifold. But unfortunately, I said just follow the instructions in the construction manual. And I thought he said he was going to do it that way, but obviously he didn't look at it, because when he sent it to me, the flange was facing forward as opposed to hanging down, so I could mount my my carburetor. So what I ended up doing is cutting on either side of the flange, moving it to where it has to be, and then clamping it with the same kind of clamps that are found in other parts of the engine. I think that's okay, but I don't know if that's a no-no as far as engine guys go. So anyway, I don't know if anyone can answer my questions on that, or maybe I just should throw all those questions on the forum and let everybody come up with their opinions.
Well, I know I think you're right on the fiber nuts. I mean, on an engine, it should be either safety wired or castle nutted with a what's the word? The pin, the can't think of the word. Anyways,
Cotter pin.
There you go, cotter pin. Yeah, so I think that's a for sure thing. And
usually everything is safety wired on engines.
Yep. And Norman, you're on. I think you're muted. Oh no, you're not muted. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth with this old Mac. But yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to be getting this engine with records and all that, and I show up, and the binder they give me is a general binder. They give them for all the engines. That's a generic binder for all their engines, not just one that told me the history of the engine I bought. So anyway, that's one of the things. That's one of the questions. I'm probably going to have to go through and just check every bolt and then torque them down again.
Have you test fired it yet?
No. They said they ran it on a test stand. I was going to go down there, and I said, hey, when are you going to run it on a test stand? I will make a trip out there so we can, I can see you run it. But then I sent the email, and he said, oh, we already test ran it yesterday or this afternoon, and everything was great. So I didn't actually get a chance to see it run. But he said they ran it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then like I said, the manifold, I painted it yellow. You can see it there. But see these clamps? Ed had welded this facing that way or aft, and I had to cut it and use these clamps. Now, I don't know if that's authorized or okay. It doesn't, I mean, it works probably, but we'll see. I didn't know if that was okay, but I just assumed it was and did it.
Is there a rubber piece connecting those two tubes together that you have the clamp on?
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
and another question I have is, I've read that some people don't like these kinds of clamps where there's like a little screw holding the throttle cable. Like a lot of people say, oh, you should use something more sturdy than just a single, like the simple set screw or whatever. I read that somewhere, and it was what's on the carburetor, so I assume it's okay. Anyway.
I would want a safety backup on that throttle linkage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have a spring on there to pull it to full throttle if that linkage breaks?
There's a spring on the, there's a spring. It's weird. The way this carburetor came from Great Plains, number one, the linkages are on the opposite side. At least one of them is on the opposite side of what was shown in the prototype. So maybe I was supposed to specify what side of the carburetor I wanted the linkages to be. But to your question, there is a spring, but it's on the intake for the air. You know, the choke? Like if you have no pressure, it springs to the open position. So the full open position. But there's no springs anywhere else in the carburetor. That's interesting, yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. But then again, I don't know, maybe you don't want a spring on the throttle because you might go to an overspeed condition if there's a problem. I don't know.
Yeah, that's enough. That's, it's enough stuff that's kind of scary that you think you got a used, you thought you were buying a new engine and you think you got a used engine from?
Well, you know what? I think I was just too excited about the price on this engine coming straight from RevMaster.
Okay.
I should have asked more questions but I just assumed that it was Joe Horvath that was talking to me on the phone, and he's the been in the business for decades. So I just bought the engine without too many questions, just assuming that they had, gone through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some clearances and some torques and see if it looks like it was put together okay. So far, it looks fine. And if it runs okay, then I'll probably just go ahead with it.
Yeah. On your other stuff, I think, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think you can definitely live without being right. I don't think that's a big deal at all. On the remote switch for the ELT, can you reach the ELT? Like in my Sonics, my ELT I installed it underneath the seat, so I can't get to it without pulling the seat out of the airplane. But I mean, if you can reach the ELT and flip the switch that's directly on the ELT, you'd probably be okay. But,
I looked into that, and there is a couple out there that are designed like that. I can't remember which one it was, but I had planned on using just an AirTex and mount it way back there next to the battery. I didn't. I thought about what you're saying, but again, that's the question. If I'm supposed to be able to reach it, or be able to turn it on and off, and I don't want a remote switch, then I'll opt for the one you're talking about and mount it behind me and mount it to the back of my seat. But it's a lot more expensive. That's the thing. If I want something that's more affordable, I'll get the old, the standard one mounted back by the battery, $585, I think. So, I mean, I don't know if I need legally, I don't know, do I need a remote switch? I don't think I have to have one, and I don't see it anywhere on the prototype.
Yeah. I think it's, I bought a ELT not too long ago, and I think it was around that price, and it came with a remote switch, and it's super easy to install. I think just 2 wires run into it has a little, the other nice thing about the remote switch in mine is that it's tied into the horn. So if you do set the thing off on a bad landing, that it's set off and you can deactivate it. I wanted mine for that as much as for anything else. I do most of my flying alone, so I'm not super worried about it. But I think even just to know if the ELT ever gets set off, I think is a nice reason to have it. I forget which one I bought. It's the old one I had in my Sonics went bad, so I got this new one. It's yellow. I don't know. I'd have to look out at the.
Yeah, usually they're AirTex or ACK, and then there's one I can't remember the name of or something. They're a lot more expensive, but again, that's why I need opinions on this. I don't know. I mean, if I have the time, I don't mind. I mean, it's an extra work. If I want to And I have a little bit of panel space that if I think I need it, I can install a remote switch. But I'd rather not hassle with it.
I can tell you, I just quickly checked my my photos, and there is a remote ELT switch in the CX5 prototype.
Oh, really? Where about?
It is on the bulkhead immediately forward of the starboard side armrest for the pilot. So
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I thought that was something else. Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll do it then.
On my son,
purchasing has it included, so I just might do it.
Yeah. On my, if yours is mounted aft, on my Sonics, I mounted mine just right on that bulkhead, you know, right behind the seat there. So I would have to kind of reach back over my shoulder to activate it if I wanted to. But the horn is right there too if you accidentally set the thing off, which is nice. So yeah. I think, you know, when you look at all the work you've done, I think installing that remote switch is probably going to take you an hour or two. You know,
yeah.
I don't know.
I've been doing so much wiring and then redoing it because I didn't like it, or something else had to be installed that I could. You're right. I probably could spend a couple hours and be done with it. So okay, well, thanks for that input, guys. If you have any other things that you think I need to know or advice, just you know, contact me on the site.
I've got one more comment. This is Roger.
Sure.
I was looking through my photos here, and I don't have one of my carburetor or the throttle linkage, but I am almost positive that what I used was like a radio-controlled airplane wheel collars, what they call. They're different diameters. They slip on music wire, and you put one on each side of your wheel, keep them in place on RC planes. But I believe I purchased 2 of those and put on each side of the linkage that you have now as stops, as safety stops. And they just slide on, and they have a set screw identical to what you're using now, but I had one on the outside and one on the inside of your linkage, just as safety stops in case the primary fails.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to do that. I mean, it's such a critical part of the airplane that I'm really worried about it. And another thing that I've had a problem with is using the throttle as designed without a lot of friction. I mean, because the throttle's on the left side and because the carburetor's down the center line, and because I also needed to have space for my feet to move the rudder pedals, there was kind of a extreme angle that was causing a lot of friction. So it was just not working very well. But I played around with it and put the cables a certain way so that it works, but there's more friction than I would like. And I'll tell you, Rob Flood, the guy that built the CX5 in Arizona, what he did because of his throttle linkage and how unhappy he was with the friction, he actually made some kind of control linkage system that isn't in the plans so that he was able to use his throttle and more comfortably and more easily control his carburetor. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm throwing that out there. I read all the time about these things, and I know that it's one of the items you got to be concerned with, and it's a real pain, and I'm an example of that. It's such an extreme angle, and I had problems with the friction on my throttle cable, but I was able to wriggle it out. But back to the point, I'm going to safety everything so that even if there is too much friction, I can, you know, it doesn't damage everything. And I'll just probably check it a lot until I figure it out. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions or concerns or pointers or hints?
Sort of related to that, there was something that I was kind of wondering about. The plans call for obviously use of the RevMaster engine, but with the Zenith carb, and it comes with the RevFlow carb. Is there any elegant way to make that switch over, and what's the typical way of going at that? I come out of ignorance. I just don't know. Some of you guys have dealt with that, I believe.
Are you talking about what needs to be different between the two?
Yeah, or just simply receiving the RevMaster engine with the RevFlow carburetor on it, and now you have this separate Zenith carb, and you want to make the switch. What does that take? What's the elegant way to do that?
Well, all you got to do from what I did, and you guys chime in if I'm wrong. All you got to do is make a modification to the intake manifold,
Yeah.
and that's it. Everything's bolted together. Once you make that, move the exhaust, the carburetor flange 90 degrees to make it come down. You cut this piece of pipe off, and you weld a flange. And anyway, it's in the construction manual. It should be.
Gotcha. And I haven't received my CX7 plan, so I can only try to think ahead. Thank you.
I wanted just to show how my carburetor is linked up. If this is off my iPad, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got two screws, one from the top and one from the bottom, hooking to the throttle cable and the carburetor arm. Can you see that? Does that help?
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
That's how mine is hooked up. And then the choke is hooked up very similar, but it's got a bolt with a nylock nut and a set of washers on it. So I don't know if that helps or not. So anyway.
I read about the bolt and washer system reading the Tony Vangelis books. That's how he recommends doing it in his book. My carburetor was when it was delivered, doesn't have all that stuff on it. It has what I have on it, but I think I might just follow what's in the book and make modifications and buy the parts to make it the way that you're talking about.
All right.
Thanks.
I got you. Okay.
Cool. Jeff, I think you were gonna say something or ask something earlier.
Yeah, I know. I was looking for a picture here too to see if I have a picture of my carburetor set up in the Sonics. I haven't found one yet though. But I was wondering, one of the reasons I haven't riveted my wing yet was I keep playing around with the idea of whether I want to put lights in there or not, put a landing light or a taxi light in there or not. I never put lights on my Sonics. It's just a day. And I think I'm going to go that route here too, because the lights are expensive. It's crazy money for these things. I'm wondering if anybody has any recommendations on an affordable way to make this thing flyable at night, where you don't have to drop $1,000 on lights. Anybody have any good sources or good recommendations or do-it-yourself ways of building lights?
I don't, but that's something that my dad and I both been talking about. He's building a wooden and a cloth-covered plane. Actually, I think I have to go out and help him tomorrow. Where we got it up on the fuselage rotisserie, so he covered the sides and the bottom, but he needs help with the top and then stretching it. And anyways, but yeah, we've been talking about that because we both like flying early morning and into the evening.
Yeah,
and it's. I'd like to come up with something. I think from a pure business standpoint, I think that's something that if a guy could come up with that would be a very marketable and profitable, piece of business there. But yeah, at this point, I don't have anything. I have gotten to know a guy who makes really high-end flashlights. Like if you want to buy $1,000 flashlight, I don't know why people want to buy a $1,000 flashlight, but anyways, he makes these really fancy flashlights down in Oklahoma. So I've been talking with him just off and on over the last 6 months about LEDs and the drivers for them and things like that, but it's very peripheral and not part of my core business or knowledge set right now. So unfortunately, no, I don't have anything, but it's front of mind for me.
Okay.
I haven't actually built it yet, but I've been playing with the idea. Speaking of the flashlights, there are some of the ones that you look for the Cree light LED light bulbs in them. Those are the ones that are the same ones used in the aviation landing lights. A lot of those machined aluminum flashlights are built to operate somewhere around 3.6, 4.7 volts, which means you can chain three of them together and run them off of a 12 volt / 14 volt system pretty readily. it has occurred to me to pick up a few of these and machine the backs of them to thread them, and then fit them directly to the leading edge of the wing externally, 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and you'd have landing lights, very low price, that would incidentally also happen to bear a striking resemblance to, 50 cal muzzles, which amuses me to no end.
I like that.
I don't know. I know, right? I don't know if that's necessarily the world's greatest idea, but I will admit that it will undoubtedly be tested in another year or so over here in California. Just guys want to wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of the number of times I've been flying my Sonics for a lot of years, and it's probably been a handful of times where I've really had to adjust my plans, because I didn't have any lights on the plane. And I'm thinking, at the cost of the stuff that's being sold out there right now, it'd be like a couple $100 each time, And so I think I'm going to move forward without putting lights on the plane right now, and maybe just retrofit something if something becomes more affordable later on. But
Here, I definitely want them because we're sandwiched almost, but not quite underneath Class Charlie, and then we've got 2 major air bases, one to the northeast, one to the southwest, and they fly a lot of very large cargo aircraft who are notorious for not actually paying a whole lot of attention to, bugs hitting the windshield. Unless I say bugs, I mean, So, yeah, anything I can do to attract their attention, I'm going to take it.
yeah.
Hey guys, this is Larry in Denver.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
I had a thought about the light situation. There's a website called crazedpilot.com, and they sell all kinds of lights for experimental, wig-wag strobes and all kinds of stuff. And because it's experimental, the stuff is like really cheap. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, $10 22 LED lamp light for landing strobe or for aircraft strobe or landing. $10.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, there's a wig kit for $40. Wow, thanks, Larry. That looks interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, yeah.
What's the website again?
Crazed Pilot.
Crazed Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I just put the I'll put the I just pulled it up and found it too. I just put the URL in the chat.
There you go.
If you open the chat window, you can see it there. Yeah. Cool. No, this is great. Thanks, Larry. I'm definitely going to dig into this. This looks affordable.
Yeah, that's the thing, my brother, I was telling my brother has a Luscombe, and he just it had landing lights on it, but they were a huge draw, and he just put the LED lights in it and put the wig-wag on it, and it's amazing.
Cool. Nice.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and even if they don't work quite as advertised, you're not out $1 million either. So that's yeah.
Play around.
Huh, interesting. Larry, have you purchased from these guys, or you just ran across them, or?
No, I just ran across them in my travels, and I was looking for, because I'm going to pretty much fly day. I'm a private pilot, but I'm going to be flying light sport, and so I'll be flying, predominantly during the day. But I fly out of a controlled field, which is Centennial, and it's really nice to have some sort of awareness lighting, when you're in the landing pattern, because there's a lot of planes and a lot of traffic. So a lot of the planes here do that. And, these are some interesting ways of just being seen that I've,
very good.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's not just about being legal to fly at night, but just about being safe and about being visible. Yeah.
It'd be kind of nice to have a strobe on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to read the specs, and I might just order up some of those to play with in all my spare time. But
Well, and because we have to have ADS-B here, I'm going to use the I can't remember the name of it, but it's like one side is your ADS-B out, and the other side is your ADS-B in on the wingtips.
Oh, is it that you? What is it? You
avionics.
There you go. Yeah.
So I'm going to use those for my in and out, but it also includes the wingtip lights and strobe. And then I'll just put in a light at the tail, so that I would be legal. I could put something on either the cowl as an awareness light, or I could put that in the front of the leading edge as well. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I've been thinking about how I'm going to do the lighting. And when I ran across this crazed pilot thing, I thought, okay, wait a second, that's some interesting stuff for pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Larry. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, cool. Well, anybody else have anything else to go over or questions? I think, Martin, are you talking? I see your mouth moving, but I have you on mute right now. There, try that.
Is there any way we could set up a list so members could list their airplanes, like what engines, what props, what carburetors and stuff that they're using, so that other members could take and kind of go down the list, and if they have a question about a Zenith carb, they know who to talk to. There seems to be a lot of different combinations of people using, and when planes get flying more, there's going to be a lot of questions on props like there was with the 4. Everybody's trying to figure out what prop is the best combination, 1835 or 2180 or whatever. It'd be nice to have a database where you could kind of focus on who you could try to ask.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Martin. I'll take it.
Well, Thatcher has the builder's list on there for the CX4 and the CX5. I don't know how much updating they do on it. I was able to find a fellow out here close to Seattle on the list, and so I don't know, but there's no details, as to what people are doing. And there's no contact information other than the city they're located in.
Yeah, it's a list that just has the plans number, the name, and the city, huh? I think
that's true.
Probably Glenn Bradley manages that for Thatcher, I guess. So that
might be on the community site, which would be that Todd. I'm blanking on his last name, but Todd. I don't remember his last name, but yeah, he built that CX4 community site, and I think that might be on there. And then there's the regular CX4 or Thatcher CX4 is Dave's site, and then Thatcher Aircraft is my site. So yeah, it's one of those where, yeah, there's a little bit of.
I can see that it's a great idea, and in the beginning it makes sense. However, I can see also that as time goes by and planes get sold and modified and deregistered, it's going to become inaccurate. And also, as more plans and builders are out there, it's going to become inaccurate. So maybe a running list or a voluntary thing where people can add or maybe just provide information about something they heard, or names or whatever, or a picture of something they saw at an air show might work. But I don't have a solution. I'm just saying I can see why it's not updated. But I'd be happy to provide my information, and I would love to be able to see other people and where they're at and what configurations they have as well. And the last thing I want to say is it's getting kind of late. I have a commitment in a little while. So after we finish up, if I just log off, that's where I'm going. I didn't drop sync. I just got to go. Thank you, guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much appreciated.
Yeah. Good to see your-
Facebook might be an idea if somebody set up a Facebook site.
So I have a Facebook page for Thatcher Aircraft, and there's a number of people that are on there. I'm posting what I'm doing in the shop on any given day, but there hasn't been a whole lot of discussion per se. And I may have it. I'm not a Facebook expert, but maybe I have it set up so people can't create posts, but I can open that up or whatever. But anyways, there is a Thatcher Aircraft Facebook page. And also I post on Instagram, and I do have my site, but that's due for a complete revamp. I'm having some issues with shipping, and some people have had problems with paying with credit cards and stuff. And so I'm using a WordPress WooCommerce right now. I'm going to be switching to Magento, but it all takes time. So right now my focus on getting the CX-7 done, and then I'll be switching that over. Or I shouldn't say getting the CX-7 done, but getting it ready to take to Airventure, assuming Airventure is going to happen. So anyways, yeah, it is getting a little bit late. I do need to get back in the shop. I am about half done riveting half of the first half of the CX-7 spar, center section spar. So I have a
How are you riveting that?
So I use a C-frame squeezer. I have a real big squeezer and it has a foot pedal and stuff. So it's just a air-powered pneumatic squeezer. So
expensive.
If anyone's looking for a cheap alternative to do that, a Harbor Freight Harbor Press works wonders. Very
yeah.
good.
So Greg Westbury, who was doing this business before I kind of quasi bought it, what he was using was basically he had a pneumatic cylinder hooked to a foot pedal, but basically it used a large C-frame arbor press. Yeah, like what Norm's holding up there. He was using it was a much larger one, but he offered it to sale for me for the low price of a lot, and it had a crack in it, and there's some other issues. I'm like, no, I think I'll pass. But yeah, so I went out. What I actually did was I found it was a 6,000 pound just a handheld rivet squeezer on eBay for $800-900, whatever it was used. And then I sent it off to get rebuilt. And then I found a company somewhere down south, maybe Alabama. I don't remember exactly where, but it's like Atlantic Air Tool, I want to say, or Atlantic. Yeah, I think it was like Atlantic Air Tool or Atlantic Pneumatic Air Tools. And they ended up hooking me up with the C-frame and the bench mount and the foot pedal and all that stuff for a number with a lot of zeros after it, but it was way cheaper than buying new. So yeah, and it's like new.
Well, if you're doing high production, it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm not doing high production yet, but I'll tell you what, it's nice to be able to stick a rivet in, hit the foot pedal, check it, go to the next one, do it again, and it makes life, it's fun. I put my headphones on, put a podcast on, and go to town. So it's good. But,
yeah, that's awesome. I used the $100, C-frame riveter from Cleveland or Aircraft Tool.
Is it where you pound it or you use the gun on it? Yeah. Okay.
3-wax with a 3-pound little mini sledgehammer.
Yep.
You have to do it on the concrete, so it's too much bounce back on the table. So you got to get down on your knees on the garage floor, but it works if you're looking for a cheap way to do it. And once you get the feel, 3-wax, on each one right down the line, and you can get pretty consistent results, but your knees hurt, your back hurts.
Yep.
Hey, yeah, I gotta jump off too, but Ben, I wanted to say before I jump off, thanks for setting this up.
I mean, this is kind of cool. So I'm thinking maybe we try and do this. I mean, for now, maybe while we're all quarantined, maybe try to do it once a week or something, or every other week. But it's kind of nice.
Well, this is great. I almost wonder too if we shouldn't just kind of like have it be kind of open. Like I don't get much time out in the garage, so I need to I want to be working at the same time. But maybe these are working sessions, where we're working, talking when questions come up, but you know what I mean, that kind of thing too.
Yeah, leave it open for like a 4-hour session on Saturday morning, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just using my my corporate Ring Central account, but it's we pay for it one time and it's wide open. So yeah, so I think I could probably do that. It might cut off after 2 hours and then we'd have to reconnect, but it wouldn't be a big deal. I did put that password on there, Thatcher. I've heard some horror stories about people hijacking Zoom meetings with things that aren't inappropriate anyways. So I toss that on there just to kind of block it out. So hopefully if we hear that people had issues getting in, that might be part of it.
I didn't have to use a password.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah, I didn't either. It just went right in on the link
Okay.
that you provided.
Yeah, and I'm the host, I guess you'd say. So I didn't use a password either. So, but I thought that was just because I was the host. So okay, well maybe that's not a big deal. But okay.
I wanted to ask Roger, where in North Carolina is he from?
Oh, I think he might have dropped already.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not anymore. So
Okay.
yeah.
Quick answer there. If you send someone a link, they don't need the password. But if you attempt to join the meeting through the application.
Oh, like just with the ID or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well that's cool. That made it easy. So, okay, well, good deal. I'll plan on setting one of these up for maybe for next Saturday morning or something. Is this time decent for everybody? I don't know if it's too early for. Okay, all right. I see Norm saying yeah. Okay. It's kind of like mid-morning for me, so I was up in the shop for a while doing some stuff, and then I had to stop, and now we'll go back up. But it's all right. I can do that once in a while. So.
Well, it's great in the West Coast.
Okay. All right.
8 o'clock.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate everybody joining up. This is a good conversation, and I'll probably put the recording up in the next 3 days, just so that people who weren't on could, maybe glean some information or.
Well, I think you would add some interest.
Yeah, it seems nice. So I did set up like a couple of years ago. I set up a Thatcher Aircraft YouTube channel, and I think 0 videos. So I'll put a link to that. But I actually ordered a camera here, so I'm hoping to start taking high quality photos for the builder's manuals going forward, and also to use for online, and also to do videos with. So so hopefully I'll have a little more video content of here's how to build this, here's how to put this together, here's this thing that was confusing me. Hopefully this will make it easier for you, that kind of thing. So, and if you guys have any content like that, yeah, send it over and I'll try to publish that too. So, cool.
Thanks,
all right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ben.
All right. Yeah, take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ben. So long.